Hello everyone, I hope that you are all well and healthy. My first attempt at doing this, I don't know how well it's going to go. You can give me feedback obviously at the end. So our topic for the whole week really is control and communication. Today we're going to start off with nervous control. On Thursday we will move on to the eye, and on Friday we'll move on to hormonal control. Our learning objectives for today are as follows. List the main parts of the nervous system. 2. Draw a motor nerve cell. 3. Identify sensory, relay and motor neurons. And finally 4. Outline the importance of simple reflex arc. So first of all then, the central nervous system. It consists of just two parts, the brain and of course the spinal cord. If we take a look at the brain, there are a number of different parts. There's the hypothalamus. There's the cerebellum over on the left. This controls memory and intelligence. Most of the activity occurs on the surface of the brain. So intelligence isn't just determined by the size of the brain, but also how folded it is. The more folded your brain, the greater the surface area, the greater the intelligence should be. Secondly, we have the cerebellum. This controls posture and balance. In old black and white films, the good guy walks through the door, and there'd be a man hiding behind the door, hit him on the back of the head, and he would fall unconscious. The cranium, the skull, is actually thinner on the back, so it is quite a sensitive part. If you bang the back of your head, you tend to fall unconscious. We have the hypothalamus. This controls the pituitary down below. Now, pituitary, is it part of the nervous system? Well, it's linked to the nervous system, but really, it's the headquarters of the hormonal system. And we'll say more about that on Friday. And finally, we have the medulla oblongata. The name's partly obstructed just there, and that controls breathing, for example, and heart rate. So here we have a motor neuron. Now, as I said, there's 3 different types of nerve cells. Maybe I didn't say that, but there are. The motor neuron, it has the cell body and is actually found inside the spinal cord. And it has an axon. The axon is surrounded by a myelin sheath. What the myelin sheath does, it actually makes the nervous impulse pass along here faster. Instead of moving along slowly, it sort of leapfrogs to these points, are actually called nodes of Ranvier. And then at the end of the motor nerve plate, they're actually linked to muscles, because what a motor neuron does, what the name suggests, is it controls your movement. This may not be the movement of your arms, it may be the movement of the muscles in the eye or something like that. Now, if we go from the spinal cord to the muscles in your little finger, it's actually one nerve cell. So although we think of nerve cells as being really, really small, in reality, they actually can be very long. Still microscopic, because they're very, very small and narrow, but in fact very, very long, perhaps a meter in length. If you can't remember what a motor neuron does, just think of motor car. Motor cars move, motor neurons cause movement. So we have 3 types of nerve cells. We have the motor neuron, already discussed. If you see a double line like this, this is just to show it's not drawn to the correct proportion. Its length is much, much longer than it's shown just here, relative to the size of the cell body and the axon terminals. Secondly, we have the relay neurons. These are much shorter. They are found entirely within the spinal cord. And of course, what they do is they relay a message from a sensory neuron to a motor neuron. Sensory neurons, at one end, they will have maybe photoreceptors in the eye, pain receptors in the skin, always linked to obviously the different senses that you have. It's a little bit unusual and certainly distinguishable because the cell body is not in the middle, like in a relay neuron. It's not at one end, as with a motor neuron. It's actually off to one side. It's just before it enters the spinal cord. These axon terminals will actually connect to the dendrites in the relay neuron. And then the axon terminals just here will connect to the dendrites and cell body of a motor neuron. And we'll see that more when we look at a simple arc reflex. So I've got another learning objective. Describe simple reflex arc in terms of sensory, relay, and motor neurons, and a reflex action as a means of automatically and rapidly integrating and coordinating stimuli with responses. So we've got a diagram just here. This person has stupidly put their hand on a very, very hot cup of soup. It has stimulated the pain receptors, maybe thermoreceptors as well, but certainly pain receptors. It sends electrical signal along the axon of the sensory neuron up into the spinal cord. There's a relay neuron. Unfortunately, they called it an interneuron just here. When it comes to biology, you have more than one name for the same thing. An interneuron is exactly the same thing as a relay neuron. I like the name relay neuron. It's like a relay in a race. It's passing on the baton, so to speak. It will then send signals along the motor neuron. You notice here, we've got different motor neurons, depending on whether it's going on to the triceps or the biceps just here, which is an extensor muscle and a flexor muscle. Again, you've got the three types of neurons. It shows how they're connected. You have the sensory neuron. These will have some sort of receptors just here, light receptors, pain receptors, whatever. Nervous impulse goes along here, and the terminals here which connect to dendrite to cell body. This is the interneuron or relay neuron. That then connects to the dendrite of the cell body of the motor neuron, sends an impulse, and that terminates, of course, at some sort of muscle in the body. Perhaps a simpler diagram just here. Person's put their finger on a candle. Don't know why anybody wants to do that, but they have. So this red neuron just here, of course, is you got it, sensory neuron. The green one just here is an interneuron or a relay neuron. And the blue one just here is a motor neuron. And that results in a response. The candle is the stimulus, the movement of the arm is the response. So it always goes stimulus, sensory neuron, relay neuron, motor neuron, response. So the reflex arc bypasses the brain. So why is that? If you think about it, if you stick your finger on something sharp, or maybe you get a paper cut, you immediately pull your hand away. There's no, oh, I think my finger hurts. Maybe I should do something. What shall I do? It's all autonomic. You do it without thinking. It bypasses the brain. Why? Well, the answer should be obvious. It's fast. When you start thinking, it's slow. If it's automatic, it's fast. And that reduces the injury or the harm that is done. The information reaches the brain after response. Of course, you still know about it, but you've already responded to it by then. This means the reflex is very quick. That's the important thing about reflex arcs. And the finger is removed quickly before there is further damage to the finger, before the burns become more serious. But I can't remove. Can I remove? There we go. We can override the reflex arc if we need to move something hot. So obviously, sometimes you might just have to move something hot, and hopefully it's not too hot, but you can actually override that simple reflex arc, pick it up, and move it to another place. Another diagram, stimulus, pin, just here. That's where the receptor is, the pain receptor. That's the stimulus. We've got stimulus, receptor, sensory neuron. I keep on wanting to use the word relay neuron. I prefer it. And then it goes down the motor neuron, and that ends up the muscle, which will bring about a response to moving your finger from the pin. Notice the relay neuron is in the grey matter just here of the spinal cord. Just there. One thing I haven't mentioned is these things do not actually connect. There is a gap. And these gaps between nerve cells are called synapses. Yeah, synapse or synapse, whichever pronunciation you prefer. So how does the message get across the synapse? Simple answer, neurotransmitters, chemicals that diffuse across the gap. Maybe we'll say more about those later. I would normally print this off for you. I'll leave it as an image file. If you want to download it and print it and put it in, that would be great. But I'll have other things to do as well. That is the end of the slideshow. Stay curious and stay healthy. Bye.